Do you ever feel like your biggest dreams are met with the loudest laughter? Have you ever poured your heart into an idea, only to be told it's impossible, foolish, or simply not worth the effort? We've all been there, standing at the precipice of a grand vision, facing a chorus of doubt. But what if that doubt, that ridicule, isn't a dead end, but merely the prologue to an extraordinary transformation? What if the very people who dismissed you become the loudest cheerleaders of your success? This is the story of Roshanpur, a village nestled deep in the verdant valleys, a place where the rhythm of life was dictated by the sun and the soil. Its name, Roshanpur, meaning village of light, was a cruel irony, for true light, the light of knowledge, had long eluded its people. There were no schools, no books, no whispers of stories beyond the ancient folklore passed down through generations. Children spent their days in the fields, their hands calloused before their minds had a chance to wander. Life was a cycle of toil, a struggle for sustenance, leaving little room for aspirations beyond the next harvest. In this village lived a young man named Arav. Unlike others, Arav's eyes held a different kind of sparkle, a reflection of a dream far brighter than the village's dusty paths. His dream was simple, yet monumental, to build a library in Roshanpur. A place where every child, every young soul, could step into the boundless world of knowledge. He had personally felt the gnawing emptiness of a childhood devoid of books. His younger sister, Meena, a wisp of a girl with eyes that constantly searched for wonder, would often tug at his sleeve, begging for tales he couldn't conjure from memory alone. He saw the unquenched thirst for stories, for understanding, in Meena's innocent gaze, and satisfying that hunger became Arav's deepest purpose. He envisioned a future where Roshanpur truly lived up to its name, illuminated by the wisdom found within pages. When Arav first dared to voice his audacious dream, the response was a symphony of dismissive laughter and knowing headshakes. "Arav, you're building castles in the air," scoffed Chacha Karim, the village elder, his voice laced with the weariness of generations. "Here, we struggle for 2 square meals a day, you speak of books?" Others chimed in, their voices echoing the same sentiment. "What can you possibly achieve alone? This is all pointless talk. Focus on your work, young man." The ridicule stung, each word a barb aimed at his hopeful heart. He would lie awake at night, the echoes of their laughter ringing in his ears, his mind replaying the moments of dismissal. Yet, the image of Meena's eager face, her insatiable curiosity, would always push back against the tide of despair. He whispered to himself, "If I cannot achieve the grand vision all at once, I will start small. Even the smallest step can be the genesis of the longest journey." His first step was indeed small, almost imperceptible to the bustling village. He chose a forgotten corner of his humble home, a space usually reserved for discarded tools and dusty pots. With a worn broom, he swept away years of accumulated grime, clearing the earth floor until it was bare. He then laid down an old, faded mat, transforming the neglected nook into the nascent reading room. Next, he carefully retrieved his most prized possessions, a handful of old, tattered books, remnants of his grandfather's meager collection, kept safe through the years. These few pages, fragile with age, were the bedrock of his towering dream. With a hopeful heart, he announced to the village, his voice barely carrying above the daily din, "Any child who wishes to read, or simply wants to hear a story, can come to me every evening after the sun begins to set." The first evening, only Meena and her 2 shy friends appeared, their eyes wide with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. Arav, his heart pounding with a quiet excitement, welcomed them warmly. He began by narrating a captivating tale, his voice weaving magic into the simple words, then carefully showed them the vibrant illustrations in his picture books. The children's faces lit up with wonder and unadulterated joy. The next day, 4 children arrived, then 8, and soon, Arav's small corner was overflowing with eager young minds. Every evening, he would teach them the alphabet, explain the meaning of words, and answer their endless questions, igniting an insatiable thirst for knowledge. He wasn't just teaching them to read, he was teaching them to dream, to question, to imagine a world beyond Roshanpur's familiar boundaries. His humble corner, once overlooked, had quickly become the brightest, most cherished spot in the entire village. But the scarcity of books soon became a formidable challenge. Arif's handful of treasures, though loved, could no longer satisfy the growing demand. He knew he had to venture beyond Roshanpur, to the distant city where bookstores and bustling markets of old books thrived. His first journey was a grueling test of his resolve. The path from Roshanpur to the city was unpaved, treacherous, and strewn with sharp rocks. He had no money for transport, so he decided to walk. He set off before the first hint of dawn, a worn, empty sack slung over his shoulder. The sun beat down mercilessly, his feet blistered with every mile, and his throat was parched with thirst. Yet one thought consumed him: books. He pictured the eager faces of the children, Mina's bright eyes, and that vision propelled him forward, one painful step after another. Upon reaching the sprawling city, a world away from his quiet village, Arif tirelessly scoured every old bookstore he could find. He pleaded with shopkeepers, his voice hoarse, recounting his humble dream for Roshanpur. He begged for any old, discarded books they might have. Some shopkeepers, hardened by years of commerce, dismissed him with a wave of their hand. But a few, touched by his earnestness, took pity and offered him a handful of worn paperbacks. One elderly bookseller, a man who himself cherished the written word, was deeply moved by Arif's unwavering dedication. He not only gave Arif a generous stack of books but also shared invaluable information, the addresses of people who regularly donated old books to charitable causes. Tears of pure joy welled up in Arif's eyes. With his sack now heavy with newfound treasures, he began the arduous trek back to Roshanpur, the pain in his feet now a distant echo compared to the lightness in his heart. Months turned into a year, each passing week marked by Arif's arduous journeys to the city. Sometimes he was drenched by torrential rains, other times scorched by the relentless sun, but he never uttered a single complaint. Each return brought new stories, fresh knowledge, and renewed hope to Roshanpur. The children would eagerly await his arrival, their eyes scanning the horizon. The moment he appeared, they would swarm him, their small hands reaching for the sack, eager to discover the new worlds hidden within. Arif's small corner, once a solitary space, was now a vibrant hub, bustling with children, and even some adults who, drawn by the quiet revolution, began to sit and read newspapers and books. Malik Sahib, the village elder, had initially dismissed Arif as nothing more than a naive dreamer. But slowly, imperceptibly at first, he began to notice a profound shift in the village. The boisterous shouts of children at play were now often replaced by the quiet murmur of young voices reading aloud. Their conversations were no longer limited to daily chores. They spoke of distant lands, of scientific discoveries, of historical figures. Their questions became deeper, their thoughts more profound. Malik Sahib observed how Arif's seemingly insignificant effort was slowly, yet powerfully, transforming the lives of Roshanpur's children. One fateful day, his own grandson, a mischievous boy who had once preferred chasing butterflies to anything else, returned from Arif's corner, clutching a storybook. He sat beside Malik Sahib and began to read, his young voice filled with newfound confidence. That day, Malik Sahib's eyes truly opened. He called for a village meeting. Under the sprawling branches of the ancient banyan tree, where generations of village decisions had been made, Malik Sahib stood before his people. "We misunderstood Arif," he declared, his voice resonating with newfound respect. "We dismissed his dream as foolish, but he has shown us that even one person, if truly determined and relentlessly dedicated, can bring about an unimaginable change. Arif has shown our children the light. Now, it is time for all of us to unite and make his dream a reality." A collective gasp rippled through the gathered villagers, followed by a wave of shame, and then a flicker of determination in their eyes. They began to help Arif, each offering what they could. Some donated land, a prime spot in the heart of the village, perfect for the library. Others contributed their meager savings, small sums that collectively grew into a significant fund. The village laborers, who had once scoffed, now worked tirelessly, collecting stones, felling trees for timber. The women cooked meals for the workers, and even the children, once just recipients of Arif's kindness, carried mud and water, their small hands contributing to the grand vision. The library was no longer just Arif's dream, it had become the shared aspiration of all of Roshanpur. Its walls were not merely constructed of bricks, they were built with the hopes, the sweat, and the collective spirit of every villager. And then came the glorious day when Roshanpur's very own library stood complete, a beacon of hope against the backdrop of the mountains. It was not just a building, it was a testament to Arif's unwavering resolve, his profound dedication, his quiet courage, and the newfound unity of the entire village. Its walls held not just mortar and stone, but the aspirations and the collective effort of every man, woman, and child in Roshanpur. On the day of the library's grand inauguration, the entire village gathered, their faces beaming with pride. The library, adorned with vibrant flowers and twinkling lights, shone brilliantly. Arif stood amidst the crowd, his heart swelling with an indescribable joy. He looked at the children, now happily engrossed in books, their eyes reflecting new knowledge and boundless dreams. He saw the very people who had once laughed at him, now praising him, their faces etched with a mixture of pride and humble remorse. He felt the weight of the arduous journey, every step, every fall, and every rise, which had ultimately led him to this triumphant destination. He saw his sister, Meena, now comfortably seated in the largest room of the library, deeply absorbed in a thick book, a serene smile gracing her face. Tears of pure happiness streamed down Arif's cheeks. He looked at the smiling faces around him, and a profound realization echoed in his heart. A small spark, if nurtured and protected, can illuminate an entire village. The lesson, this story, the journey of Arif and Roshanpur, holds a powerful truth for all of us. It teaches us that big dreams aren't always met with immediate acceptance. Often, they're met with skepticism, doubt, and even laughter. But true visionaries don't let that laughter define their path. They understand that every monumental achievement begins with a single, often ridiculed, step. They persist, they adapt, and they inspire through their unwavering commitment. Your smallest effort, fueled by genuine passion, can one day become a monumental light, illuminating not just your own life, but the lives of countless others. So, don't let the laughter deter you. Let it fuel your resolve. If this story resonated with you, if it ignited a spark of hope or determination within you, please consider subscribing to our channel. Join our community as we continue to explore stories of inspiration, resilience, and the incredible power of the human spirit. Your support helps us share more tales that remind us all. They may laugh at your dream, but with perseverance, you can show them what happens next.